Well, that went well. Yo, all right. So I wasn't gonna make a video on this. I had no intentions of even watching the fight, but I got suckered into it. Yo, did that fight go any differently than what we expected, right? Okay, hear me out. So this has been awaited, right? This has been a big publicity stunt been going on now for, I think we've been waiting on it for like the better half of this year. The Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight. We all know that it's been going on, and wow. First and foremost, I'm not a Jake Paul hater, right? Like, I don't watch his content. It's not my stuff. But, like, I'm not, like, one of these people who are like, fuck Jake Paul. I just don't really have an opinion about him. I don't dislike him. I don't like him. He's just another being on the internet to me. So I kind of went into this fight thinking it from, like, a logistics standpoint, right? In my opinion, it went about exactly as it could have. I think we've seen Jake Paul's boxing career kind of explode overnight, mostly because of his popularity, right? It's not like he came in from ground zero and started just fighting one person after another and building amongst the ranks. Is like his popularity has certainly put him in the ring with people that he probably would normally not get to fight so quickly. He's only been boxing since like 2020. So realistically, he's only been doing this for like right at 3.5, 4 years. And we've seen him fight a lot of people with like credibility, right? Not necessarily in boxing, but you have someone like Nate Diaz, you know, who's like an MMA fighter who challenged him to boxing, and then he did win against Nate Diaz, right? And I'm not saying that Jake Paul is a good or a bad boxer. I do think that his skills have improved substantially. I think that regardless if you like him or not, you can look at his boxing and be like, okay, he's pretty good. He's clearly put in the work. He's putting in the effort, and he has his own way of doing things. He's, you know, some people say that he's making a mockery of the sport, which is whatever, because any type of sport that requires showmanship to kind of like sell tickets and stuff like that, you're gonna get this. You're gonna get hype beasts. You're gonna get promoters. You're gonna get big events. All this other stuff. Like none of that surprises me. He's an entertainer. He does his thing, right? On the other hand, you have Mike Tyson, who is 58 years old. He's been in retirement for a very long time. I think the only boxing that he's really done in the past decade was a exhibition match during COVID, which was aired to like nobody. And when I went back and rewatched that, it was kind of clear to me. I was like, uh-oh. Like everyone, I don't want to say everyone, but a lot of people wanted Mike Tyson to win. He is arguably the greatest of all time when it comes to boxing, an absolute savage. And a lot of people dislike Jake Paul. Again, I've got no beef. I don't care. I don't dislike or like him. But it's clear to see that most of the people wanted Mike Tyson to win. Even during the fight, anytime Jake would land a hit or do anything at all, the crowd would boo him. The crowd was easily on Mike Tyson's side the whole fight, even to the very end. And that was clear with like the whole tone of the event. It starts off, everyone's got the energy that this is going to be a washout, that Mike Tyson is going to wipe the floor with Jake Paul, simply because that he is more experienced and he is heavyweight champion, right? Like Mike Tyson is the GOAT. But that like energy, that optimistic energy really shifted after about 3 rounds, dude. It went from like, oh, Mike Tyson's got this in the bag. Then the excuses came about round 4 or 5, you know, oh, Mike's doing really good for his age. He's holding well out there. And then by like the last like couple of rounds, it was like, wow, good job, Mike, for holding in there against a 27-year-old. It was just crazy how the paradigm shifted so quickly over the course of like a couple of rounds. And that's why I said it went like pretty much exactly how it should have gone. Yeah, Mike Tyson is a savage. He's a brutal killer. Or he was. It's just, he's not that guy anymore. He said it himself several times over the years, especially like in interviews where he's talking about, he's like, I'm not that guy no more. Joe Rogan, I can't do it no more. I do mushrooms and I like birds. But I do genuinely think that when you really look at it, Mike Tyson's pushing 60, dude. Not only that, Jake Paul is taller and has more reach than him. Everybody knew going into it what the stakes were, and everybody I spoke to about it said the exact same thing. If he doesn't get him in the first 3 rounds, he's gonna get gassed, and that's gonna be it. And that's, for the most part, exactly what happened. Had Tyson really landed a couple of hardcore hits in the first round or two, it probably would have been different. But, I mean, honestly, Jake just kind of like walked him around the ring, let him come to him, and played defensively. He played smart, like for real. Like, talk shit all you want about Jake. He played smart. He did what he was supposed to do, which was gas him out. I mean, if he wanted to win, that's how he should have done it. He probably wasn't going to get a knockout on Mike Tyson. Let's be real. I think that's probably what he wanted at first, but after like 4 or 5 rounds of Mike Tyson was still coming at him with pretty gnarly looking punches. There's a couple of punches that whiffed that had not a whiffed that had probably put Jake on his ass, right? I think Jake still realized that Mike Tyson, while he was slow, was still a very viable threat. You know, it's like fighting an old grizzly bear. Yeah, sure it's old, sure it's slow, but it's still a grizzly bear, and if it gets a hold of you, it'll fuck you up. I think the major disconnect from the fight and from what a lot of people saw going into the fight was Mike's speed. A lot of the videos that you saw Mike Tyson training was him hauling ass, just gas pedaling through fights. But those are spars, so everyone really expected that kind of energy and fight in Mike Tyson on that night. And Tyson played it safe too. He was trying not to get hit really hard. He realizes that Jake has a reach advantage, he has a height advantage, and he has speed on his side. Like, that's a fact. So I think Mike Tyson did the best he could at his age, and given how slow he was, right? Because we can all agree that Mike Tyson was just sluggish. But Jake was too. That's another thing people don't realize, is that Jake put on almost 40 pounds for this fight. He normally doesn't fight anywhere near this weight class. And that, my friends, is exhausting. I don't think any of us have any true understanding of what it's like to put on 40 pounds of weight, whether it be muscle or fat, probably a good mixture of both, right? And then have to go spar Mike Tyson, dude. It's just, it is not an easy fight. Like, if you were out there thinking that you could have done that, you probably can't. Unless you're like a professional boxer, there's no way you would be stepping in the ring. But the thing is even at his extra weight, I think he realized relatively early on the kind of advantage that he had over Mike. There's even a moment where I remember watching and thinking, okay, Jake just realized how much of an advantage he has over Mike. It was like a clear click moment. You could see it on Jake's face, and you could kind of see it on Mike's face. Mike remained relatively expressionless the entire fight. He had that like locked in, dead eyes look the whole time. But something wasn't clicking with Mike, whether it be his speed or I think mostly his confidence. You know, I think mostly his confidence was shaken early on. And I do think that Mike did extremely well for his age, but that wasn't the argument here. Mike Tyson went on and gave everybody hope that he could do it, right? And I think he genuinely wanted to. I think given the circumstances, fighting someone who's a third of your age, who's taller than you, who's got a bigger reach than you, I think that the advantage, I mean, it was clear it was going to be in Jake Paul's favor. Even though I think a lot of people just wanted to see Jake get mauled, I was just hoping for a more active fight. Not because I wanted to see Jake get knocked out or anything like that. I just wanted to see some, like, genuine fights, right? Especially after, like, the kind of fights that we had led up to. Like, for instance, the first fight was really weird. It just, that first fight set such a weird tone, right? You had the dude from Brazil who was tatted up, had all these tattoos and hardcore looking, and then you had this man from India who, for lack of a better term, had like a dad bod. He looked like a bag of milk, and he just walked this other dude around the ring. And I think that's a great example of how like experience, because obviously he was more experienced, he had more fights underneath his belt, how much experience plays a role into things, right? The Indian dude just disrespected his opponent the whole time, was like Fortnite emoting in his face, and at one point he fucking humped him. Do you guys remember that? Do you guys remember the slow motion hump that he gave this guy? So that kind of set the precedence for like the rest of the fight for me. I was kind of like, God dang, dude, what is going on? What happened to championship boxing? It's like, how did we get here? What happened to the class in boxing, right? Then after that, you had those two gentlemen from Mexico who fought. I loved their fight. I thought it was a really good matchup, but I will say this, I'm not like a sports guy, I'm not a boxing guy, so please forgive me for not knowing everything. But that Katie versus Serrano fight was the highlight of the show, dude. Those two women beat the fuck out of each other. It was the most insane brawl I've seen ever. If anything, this has told me that women's boxing is insane. If you guys didn't watch it, the Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano fight was absolutely worth watching the whole event. You had this one chick, Katie, who basically just hugged the whole time, and the crowd turned on her so fucking hard. You had people booing every time they grappled. Oh my God, just playing absolutely fucking dirty, right? Absolutely dirty boxing versus Amanda Serrano, who is, for lack of a better term, a freaking monster, dude. I have never seen anyone take that many hits to the face and just keep coming. Like, her eyebrow got busted and was like just torn open and like flopping there. And I was like, oh my God, it was graphic, it was gnarly. She was leaking, she was bleeding everywhere. And you had people being like, you should call the fight, whatever, like that. She kept coming at this other girl who just kept like, who just had this like look of fear on her face. She'd eat like 10 punches and then just continue to gas pedal into her. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. And I think the takeaway from this whole fight, the biggest takeaway from this entire event, is that women boxing is now better than men boxing. I think I'd much rather watch women boxing over men boxing at this point, because the men boxing is kind of boring, right? It's a lot of like, it's like a hide and jab and, you know, getting points and whatnot. Rarely we didn't get to see no knockouts, but I don't think either one of those women blocked a single shot during that entire fight. They just beat the shit out of each other the whole time, dude. Dude, it dead ass reminded me of that Don Fry versus Yoshihiro Takayama fight. You know what I'm talking about? Where they just come in and just start beating the shit out of each other. That's what we got last night with Amanda versus Katie. Towards the end, they had to really push Katie off, and I don't want to focus on that fight too much, but it was really, in my opinion, the highlight of the whole night. Watching those two girls go at it, giggity, was fucking awesome. You know what? I take that back. I think the other major highlight of the night, and possibly even the biggest highlight of 2024, was Mike Tyson's ass. Brother, I did not expect that. I did not need to see that. I wasn't ready for that. In under any capacity did I think I was gonna see that. Chocolate milk curdled ass. Dude, I wasn't... What? Why? Who did that? The Netflix guy, whoever was recording that, did not need to zoom out. You should be fired. I just didn't need to see it, all right, is all. That's it. So yeah, they really had to squeeze in Mike Tyson's ass at the end of 2024. Wasn't ready for that. Overall though, like genuinely, I had like a level of sadness towards the end of the fight. It felt hard to watch because there was a point where I realized like just how slow and out of it Mike Tyson was. And like that was hard. I think we can all agree that was hard to watch. There was even a point even at the end, Jake almost seemed embarrassed to win. And I don't want to take anything away from him. It was like even he realized how much of an advantage that he had over Mike, and that the fight wasn't as close as even he had expected, right? And you think, why would he want it to be close if he wants to win? And it's really not just about winning, man. He's an entertainer. Both of them are entertainers. He wanted a good fight. He wants people to take him seriously as a boxer. So he thought, oh, I'll just go beat the best there ever was, and then realized like, oh no, I know everybody's been telling me he's old, and maybe washed up is the wrong term because I don't want to use that term at all about Mike. But like, I think even he realized during that fight how much of an advantage that he had, and it probably didn't sit well with him either. And I think that's kind of like why towards the end you see him just kind of like start bowing to him as like, I respect you, I don't want to do this anymore. And I think he meant it in a true honest fashion. Like there's a lot of shit talk before the fight, but that's how these things are. If you notice at the end, they both say we love each other, we shake hands, we move on. And of course, you guys both just made, you know, millions of dollars. It's pretty easy to shake your hand and say GG after something like that. I get that. But I think that kind of leads us in the most important question, which I've seen a lot of people say, was it rigged, right? Was the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight rigged? And I don't think so. Not because I wanted Mike to win, not because I don't like Jake Paul. I think there's a lot of people out there who just don't want to accept the fact that Mike Tyson lost or Jake Paul won. I don't think it was rigged. I think after watching it, kind of reminded me of seeing someone's like uncle talk about how they used to hit back in the day, right? Like the way he moved, like that stiff, slow, old man move, it was indistinguishable. I don't think anybody can fake that. I think that's something that you just get over time. Like, I understand the want to be rigged. Like, I wish it was rigged. There's no way that Mike Tyson actually lost to YouTuber Jake Paul. But I think a lot of that comes from Mike Tyson and Jake Paul selling you on the fact that the fight was going to be close. Everyone thought it was going to be close. Mike Tyson's brutal. He's the GOAT. And Jake Paul is young and fit. And we thought that maybe that would balance each other out. But it turns out it was just a little bit too lopsided one way or the other. So no, I don't think it was rigged. Genuinely, I think it was just not as good as we wanted. They sold us on this amazing fight thinking that the GOAT was going to come out of retirement and be exactly where he left off 10, 15 years ago. And it just like... not happening, dude. It's not happening. And that's okay, but like I said, man, I walked away from that feeling like kind of dirty. And I think Jake probably feels the same, and maybe even Mike feels the same too. Maybe Mike genuinely thought that he was up to the challenge, right? Maybe Jake genuinely thought that Mike was up to the challenge. I think Jake truly expected a better fight out of Mike, and I think Mike also expected a better fight out of himself. I mean, was it a cash grab? Sure. All of these public events are cash grabs. It's just how entertainment is. Entertainment is cash grabs. That's what it is. You either fall for it or you don't. I mean, when you look at the numbers, Jake Paul made around 40 million or expected to make around 40 million for the fight. Mike Tyson made about 20 million for the fight. Like, those numbers should probably make more sense to you than it shouldn't. You can see that just by looking at the number of punches thrown. 278 to 97. And also, like, one thing that I couldn't get past was the glove biting or the mouthpiece thing. Like, that is a tick of his. I have seen that in the past, especially even if you go back and look at his exhibition fight just a couple years ago during COVID, he did that. But never like this. And I'm thinking I think it's got to be a mental thing. There's something that wasn't clicking for him mentally that should have clicked. And I think maybe that was him realizing that he was in trouble, right? But he kept himself from biting Jake's ear off, which is good, I guess. If it was scripted, I think they should have scripted that. I feel like Logan's the type of guy who get his ear bitten off for showbiz. I think like he would do that. I think he could succumb to that and be okay with it. And that would have made for some really good TV. Oh, and speaking of good TV, can we talk about how bad of a job Netflix did with the whole event? I mean, there wasn't a single person that I don't think was having any sort of lag issues. I know I was, my friends and I were. It was just tragic, man. And I know Netflix is kind of new to the whole like live streaming thing. You know, they did it with Joe Rogan stuff. That was all right. But it is clear that they were way not prepared for this. And I'm sure Netflix will do more live stuff in the future, but they need to get their shit together, dude. That was just bad. That was probably one of the worst live experiences that I've seen on a major event like this. You had to have known the numbers were going to be high. You had to have known that the servers are going to be rough. They should have done a better job, is all I'm saying. In closing, though, I will say I think it was a lose-lose for Jake, regardless of how you looked at it. Either A, he was going to beat up an old man, or B, he was going to get beat up by an old man. Whether or not you agree with that, that's just how the internet is going to spin it. That's just how it's going to be. I don't think he could have done anything to get away from those things, right? Like, that was just how it was going to end up being. But at the end of it, they came together. They set aside their differences, they shook hands, they hugged it out, they showed mutual respect for each other, and it was probably the most humbled I've ever seen Mike Tyson be in any situation. Just like the sheer look on his face after the fight was like, yep, that is not how I wanted that to go, but I did what I could, and that's why I don't think it was rigged. You'd hope someone like Mike Tyson wouldn't throw away his decades worth of lineage and experience for a cash grab, right? You know, like almost like a crypto pump. I'm not saying it's like a crypto pump and dump scheme, but, you know, you'd hope he wouldn't do that. But at the same time, Mike himself has also said he doesn't give a shit about his belts. He doesn't give a shit about his legacy. He doesn't really care about that anymore. So does he still value that enough to not do a cash grab, to throw a fight? I don't know. I'm going to go on the safe side and say no, but I'd love to hear your opinion on it. I'm not saying one way or another that this was or wasn't rigged. It's just that my personal opinion is that I don't think it was. I think it was too hard to watch to be rigged. I don't know, man. I don't know. I had a fun time. I didn't spend any money on it. I already had Netflix anyway, so it's not like it cost me anything. I didn't bet on the fight. So I really didn't have any skin in the game. But I think the key takeaways here is that Netflix fucking sucks at live events. Women's boxing is actually super badass. They both played smart. They both did what they were supposed to do. And I really just didn't want to see Mike Tyson's ass. I'm going to leave it at that. That is living rent-free in my head, dude. Overall, just kind of lackluster and not super awesome. Just kind of disappointed. But yeah, overall, I would give that a solid 4.5 out of 10. Not awesome. Not terrible. I just walked away from that whole thing feeling gross. You know? Just kind of gross. Kind of like, oh, dude, we perpetuated this. All right. Cool. But again, I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments. Let me know if you think it was or was not rigged. Maybe tell me some of your favorite highlights of the fight. Help me out with some engagement here, all right? Give me a like, give me a share. If you're not already subscribed, do that. And yeah, I'm going to go pour bleach in my eyes and try to get the image of Mike Tyson's ass out of my head. Cool? Cool. As always, I love you guys, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.